Welcome to Smart Cherry's Thoughts. This is Sai from India.
Firstly, thank you very much, Rachel, for coming to my show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's great.
I thought to tell about you and the work that you're doing to my audience.
I remember when you first started up and you had asked if I wanted to go on your show. I was like, I don't have a book ready. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I've been following you almost from the beginning. I've watched you grow, and I'm just so proud of how far you've come. Like, you started from ground level, and now you're up there with one of the tops. That's awesome.
Thanks, and also interviewing you for my channel and telling about your work is also a very big thing for me.
I don't know if it's a very big thing for you. I'm just a small person from nowhere.
So your work is amazing. Actually, I thought to tell your work in detail to my audience. So can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Yeah, I'm R.A. Morley. I'm the author of Let There Be Fire. Hold on, I've got a book right here. I'm the author of Let There Be Fire, Redwater Dreams, and others in the lyrical series.
So you're from?
I'm from California, USA.
So you're a full-time writer.
I am not a full-time writer, actually. I have about 4 jobs on any given day. Every day I am a rancher. Most days I'm also a secretary for a small nonprofit, 5 days a week, sometimes less as I'm a substitute teacher. And then whatever hours I have left, I'm a writer.
So what's your motivation? What made you to become a writer?
I think it starts off when I was a little kid. My aunt was a super theater geek. She loved going on and just being a part of all these classic plays. So as a little kid, she would have me help her with her lines. And then I started like just devouring all these stories that I was helping her with because she would take the time to explain what's going on with the story. And then I would go see her play and it like all connected. So I just devoured books. And there came a time where I'd read so much, I didn't have anything that in my very poor country community, the library was not very extensive, so I ran out of books to read. So I started scribbling things down, and it came from just wanting to put my imagination on the page. I don't I don't know where I would be without my imagination.
So the book that you're holding right now, is that your imagination, and what is it about, and why you put out your imagination in the form of words and want to tell to the world?
This is my imagination. This is actually my debut novel. It's not the first novel I've written. It is the first that I've actually completed and gone past. And what happened is in 2020, as probably a lot of your as a lot of your guests probably start off with. Um, I found myself with a few extra hours of time in the day, and I sat down to just reignite my imagination. And I thought, I'm just going to write a short story. It's just going to be a short story that's kind of based off of the fond memories I had from playing Dungeons and Dragons. Because there was a character that I had for one game and one game only, and I was very fond of him, but I didn't really get to use him very much. So I'm like, I'm going to just pull this character that I already have because he's kind of interesting, and we're just going to do a short story. We have the debut novel out. The second is in pre-order. The third is in first stages of editing, and then I've got another like 6 outlines. So it just sort of it devolved into this monster of just like never ending. So it sort of just became when I sat down to take it seriously, my imagination, my writing sort of became a reprieve from everything that's going on.
So what is your imagination?
For this book, it starts off as kind of a buddy cop story. It's two guys who are not really the best of guys. They meet by chance and they team up for what they think is going to be an easy revenge mission. And then it turns into a rescue mission, and it's something that they get in way over their heads. And it's a fantasy book where the main characters are a dark elf and a half elf. So we get to see this whole world through the eyes of someone who doesn't have certain limitations that a human does. They have to deal with other kinds of limitations. And it's just kind of interesting to kind of think of how, like, we as humans, we adapt to things and we realize, like, we got to do this right now. We've got this much time to accomplish everything. But I kind of want to see how it would be going through the perspective of people who would naturally have longer lives, or who would naturally be more magically inclined. Like, what kind of problems would they face? Because magic isn't a fix-all, end-all. I think that's a line here in the book too.
So how much time you took to put it out?
To put out book one, I started, I think, at the end of April of 2020. And I took about a 6-month hiatus from writing because I had gotten into a new relationship. But I came back to it, just kind of like finishing it. And when it got too big and too chunky, I had to cut it into 2 books. And I realized this is just going to keep going and keep being more books. So in 2021 is when the manuscript for Let There Be Fire, book 1, and for Redwater Dreams, which is book 2, the manuscript was finished and it was going into editing. And summer of 2021 is when I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to start trying to get it all together. I'm going to start trying to figure out how I'm going to present this to the world. Then summer of 2022 is when we started trying to really just get the word out there that, hey, this is coming. And in September, we finally published. And we are expecting that Redwater Dreams will be out in June of this year. And the third book, Spirit of Chaos, is expected to be out the following summer.
So why Let There Be Fire?
Why for the title? You know, for the longest time, it didn't have a title. It was just like, you know, Cal's story. Cal is the main character. And then there were just placeholder names for all the chapters. And I was driving to a meeting. I don't remember who we were meeting with, but I remember it had to do with my nonprofit. And what I've been doing for a little while now is I was listening to a lot of indie music, just independent musicians putting out their work, and whether it was on Spotify or it was just on a YouTube playlist, I just been listening to more and more and more. One of the musicians I had found was Aviator, and his song, Let There Be Fire, had a lot of drama in it, had a lot of just, when I was listening to it, like, my imagination kind of sparked off to, like, you know, this sort of, you know, me versus the world showdown kind of thing. And I like the title because the main character in Let There Be Fire uses a lot of magic that involves fire. And I thought, you know what, this is a great idea for me to just steal the name of this song. And then every subsequent chapter after is a song from the same artist, because it also gives me a chance to talk about and gush over how awesome his music is.
Writing is something that is completely different from other communication mediums with which
Mm-hmm.
you express and you receive things from the world.
Yeah.
Why you chosen this medium, and when you thought that I'm going to connect with the world with this?
I chose writing as a medium to tell these stories in my head. It was just, it seemed like it was the best way to do it because writing is something that's very quiet in nature. It's something that uh, is also kind of solitary. I don't live in the city. I live way out in the countryside on a farm. So being able to just sit down and have this quiet contemplation and then put it down was, for me, the easiest route. I don't know if I could have handled trying to put it in song form. There are songs in the book, but if you want me to put, like, say, oh, and this is the motif that goes with it, there's no way. There's no way. I'm not that good at reading music, and I can't play an instrument to save my life. And as far as trying to put it into like an animated form or some sort of film adaptation or script, it's never been my forte because I like visually in my head is I want to put down this secondary world that, instead of having this forest that's just pine everywhere, there's this sort of strangeness to it. There's this etherealness to it. And there's not really any location I could use to say, to recreate it. It would have to be something that I could try and express through words and let someone who's receiving it take it into their imagination and have their interpretation of it.
And what is the first response that you got?
The first response for what?
Yeah, for your book.
Uh, Before it went officially into any kind of publishing, I had initially shared it with someone who read the first chapter on their live stream, and it was the most nerve-wracking thing I'd ever experienced. Just absolute disaster of panic in my head that there was probably like 20 people listening to it. And I was so terrified that, the humor wasn't going to land, that these characters weren't going to be distinguished enough from each other, that the setting wouldn't make sense. And when I got the feedback live in the moment that they enjoyed the jokes, they were very quickly attached to the characters, that the setting made sense, and they can see it more or less clearly in their own head, as I was like, all right, I've done something. I'm on some sort of road here. Something I did went so right, and it was the biggest motivational boost for me to finish and just keep going. So having that as my initial reaction from an audience was just, it was it was so heartfelt. It was so wonderful.
So why you want to write?
Why do I want to write? Well, it started off as I ran out of things to read, as I said. So when I got to, I think it was my junior year of high school, because we were going over the classics, and because I had already devoured so many of the classics, I already read all the assigned reading like beforehand, and my instructor at the time was not particularly fond of having someone who was already very familiar with the subject matter. So to have him just not make such a fuss about it is I needed to pretend to look busy. So I started scribbling things down in my notebook. Pretend to take notes. Sorry, my sparrow is going off. So I started scribbling things down, and it became more habitual then. And I was like, you know what? I ran out of things that I wanted to read, and I've just been scribbling down my daydreams. This is something that I want to do. But until 2020, I never took it seriously because I think I needed a place to escape. The world was so chaotic and people were just so horrible to each other. I just needed to escape and find a world where maybe things are bad, but there's at least one friend that's going to see you through it. So I wrote it for means to escape, and my hope is that other people who read it, that they find an escape in there as well, that they can just mentally check out of the world from whatever they're doing and just have a place where they can just feel at ease, where they can have a moment of reprieve, some sort of fun, and just have this small window where they can just enjoy it.
Are you able to put exactly what you felt?
Sorry, one more time?
Are you able to put exactly what you felt?
Am I going to put exactly what I find? I'm not sure. There's a lot that I didn't intend with my series. One of the major things that beta readers had come back to me after this initial live read and I kept going on. A lot of them came back with how they loved the themes of my book, and I was like, I have themes? I didn't plan on having any kind of themes. They just kind of happened. So my whole process for it was I have an idea of a sequence of events that are more or less going to happen in this order, but there's always a chance that they're subject to change. In book one, for example, there is a chapter where our characters are in what is basically an underground death pit. And that was a scene that I had thought would happen way later on, but I had written myself into a corner by accident and thought, this is actually a pretty good idea of like moving this really cool scene from there and just putting it further up to here. And it worked out. It actually worked out really, really well, because in that scene, we also get to see a softer side of the characters as well after the fact. It's a moment where we get to see how they've spent a lot of time with each other and now they work better as a team, how they work when strangers are introduced to try and thwart the same conflict. And then there's a certain recognition that some of these newer characters that have stepped on, that they're familiar to the characters, like they're just haven't been introduced yet, but they have a history, and we get to see a softer side of them. Because I like having something that's far more character driven rather than something that's very plot driven. So even though I have sticky notes galore on the wall over there that's supposed to tell me where I'm going as far as plot, I very much like to have it that it feels natural that the character behaves in this way, that they would act in this way, or feel this way, or think this way, based on their perspective and the situation at hand.
So, is there any influence that made you to have the imagination that you have?
Influences to my imagination? Probably one of the biggest influences, other than all the books that I've read. Actually, I think I have them. They're probably buried in here. Let me see if I can get them out without dropping anything. One of my biggest influences was, oh, I am so sorry, was Kings of the Wild. I'm dropping wires everywhere. And I love this because of how humorous it was. It's the story of just like these 5 dads who go off to rescue their kids, and they're no longer in shape to be doing this. And I don't know where I have the other one. I might have loaned it out. But the other one, in a very similar fashion, is the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. No, I think I loaned it out. And the Enchanted Forest Chronicles started off with dealing with dragons. And it's sort of like a middle grade version of Kings of the Wild, because the characters are very sassy. They're very aware that they live in a mythic land. So all the ooh and ah and spectacle that we get from classic fantasy is not there with these characters. And I thought that was just so delightful. And it's something I want to bring into Let There Be Fire as an influence for how the characters behave in the world that they are. But as far as the world setting, it would have to be my absolute love for the state of California. Because in summer, when I was just a kid, we would take these long road trips. Because at the time it was cheaper to drive a car and use the air conditioner there than it was for just getting an air conditioner in the house. So we would take these long road trips. We pack up the dog, and I got to see a lot of the state. I got to see a lot of the country. I'm so sorry. So being able to see all these different topographies and just fall in love with all these different landscapes and fall in love with all these different communities that live in these various parts of just this little corner of the world. That's a pretty big influence on how I try and address what something feels like as far as they're traveling through a place. And probably the final part of influencing how I write is my love of history and mythology. I have an absolute love for just the older something is and the more mysterious it is. I love it so much because it always seems like, well, there's the possibility that maybe it could have been. Logic says probably not, but what if? So for all the maps that I make, it's sort of a jumbled up what if of places that are in real life. The main place that we have in the lyrical series is the continent of Morley. And that is based off of the Silk Road. It's if you took just the Silk Road and then turned it into a continent and kind of jumbled it up a little bit so that it makes a little bit more sense when you stick it somewhere.
So are you able to create the impact without being visual, just with the words that you have in your collection?
Yeah, I'm not very great with things visually. I'm not very adept at it at all. That's where my artist, Jubilina, that she comes in, I'll give her a rough idea of things that I have in my head for what I want. It's actually how this cover came about is I wanted something very unique to bring. So I started looking at covers for the genre that I was writing for, the fantasy genre, and more specifically for adult fantasy, which you don't see a lot of anymore because it's kind of overrun with young adult. But I was very, very curious to see what works, what doesn't, what's going to stand out. And this idea I had in my head of just keeping our main character sort of obscure and just having a part of him shown with his main visage to kind of just show this is a fantasy book, but it's not your stereotypical fantasy book. And it's the same thing with the character art, which we're working on right now, that I'll give her just some kind of idea of what's going on with my head. And I might give like a few reference images. I think for her as I had cropped that someone's just standing there casually with their arm just at ease by their side for the cover. And she came up with this, which was completely different than what I had in mind, but it does look a lot cooler than what I had in mind. So for the character art that we're working on, and that is for a special event that's going to come up real soon, is I don't have a lot of references for what I have in my head, but she just, with her imagination, as I put it to words and she puts it down visually, I couldn't have asked for a better partner to try and help make this feel like it's real, feel like it's living.
So these characters, where it came from?
Where the characters came from, our main character, Cal, he sort of sprung up with a question, because again, this was a character that I had used once in playing Dungeons and Dragons, and the whole idea behind him was someone had asked, how does a dark elf know that they're good, but their family is evil if all they've ever known is just this society of corruption and cruelty? Like, how do they know that? So I started thinking about this, like, yeah, that is kind of weird. Like, if you are in an isolated state and you don't really know the existence of other cultures and what that's like, how do you know that your home is not good and that there's something better out there? So my solution was, what if he was adopted? And what if, to compensate for not being able to handle certain situations, he puts on a facade? What if, because in the lore of dark elves and the history of all that with tabletop RPGs, is that dark elves typically are vulnerable in sunlight, that they're very kind of vampire adjacent when it comes to long spells of time uh, in the sun. So I thought, well, what if he overcompensates by just playing with fire all the time? And what if people kind of give him weird looks, and his compensation to that was, I'll give them something to look at, and just gets a bunch of piercings, gets a lot of tattoos, starts dressing very, very bombastically as a way to try and compensate for his insecurities. And that's what I was playing with when I first made the character. The character of Avi, our half-elf main character, came from a much sadder place. Avi is someone who has spent the last 10 years of his life thinking he's lost everything. So he's a character that comes from somewhere where it's a very sad place, and it's very cathartic because you want him to conquer uh, everything that's been thrown at him. You want him to get better, to get back on his feet, to be happy again. And I think that came from a place inside. I think that's something that everyone has inside of them, is that regardless of where you are in the world, regardless of what your class situation is, we all know what it's like to be lonely. We all know what it's like to fail. We all know what it's like to be sad, to be heartbroken. And I think if we see a character that has been through all that to the 10th level and they're able to get back on their feet, I think that's something that speaks to us at a level that's very, very innately human.
So now you become a full-time writer. Being in different professions, you did different jobs. So how
Yeah,
is this?
I'm not a full-time writer. It's that this is probably like the most unhealthy way for me to cope with anxiety and depression, is to just never be idle. Like, the busier I am and the more things I have to do, I can't worry about my mental health. So it's probably not the best way to deal with it, but I've made it this far and I made this thing. So so yeah, it's that uh working on a ranch is rewarding in its own way. There's a lot of times where it breaks my heart, especially when it's a newborn, whether it's a newborn calf, a newborn lamb, foal, whatever it is, that very often they'll be perfectly fine. And you tuck them in at night, you're like, oh, good night, I'll see you in the morning. And you come back in the morning and they've never woken up. And that's heartbreaking every single time. But it gives you a sort of an appreciation for what goes into caring and raising for these animals. And then for when do you mind? Sorry, I have a sparrow with me. Because the animals are still raised for consumption. So when that ram eventually gets onto the dinner plate, or that steer or whoever, there's a greater appreciation of what goes in for that to happen. And it's hard work. Like more often than not, I'm sunburned. I'm covered in dirt and mud and hay and hair, and I'm usually a spicy disaster just walking around. But it is rewarding. It really is. Um, and there's no greater power than when you call one specific animal out of the herd and they know their name and they come to you. That's ultimate power right there. And then with my nonprofit work is I've been a volunteer for about the past 15 years. As a secretary for nonprofit, I do not get paid, but I feel it's important to try and do what I can with whatever experience I have to try and make my community better. Like even if it's just, a small little county, to try and be able to help as many people as possible. I think that's something that I am obligated to do as a person. I know that sounds preachy. I'm not meaning for it to sound preachy. It's just in my heart that feels like it's the right thing to do. And then as a substitute teacher, that's what pays the bills. Like I still need light. Hello? And I need something to power my computer so I can write more. And then being a writer again was sort of my reward, my way to just escape and just mentally check out into somewhere else.
So when you understood that you have uh, these imaginations and I need to express it, and my thoughts need to be out, and somebody have to know about it, and somebody have to know what I create and what I am thinking.
Mm-hmm. Where that started, it sort of went away after high school because I was very focused on my college work. Um, I'm trying to think of like a specific year that it might have come back. And I want to say probably 2014 it came back. And it was just, I think it's that someone else had given me, no, you know what it is? I remember now. I remember. Put that up here. I was given a free book by another indie author that this was his debut novel. And he was just asking, does anyone want a free fantasy book? And I was like, I like fantasy. I like books. I like free. So I got the book and I was just kind of sitting there like, it's actually been a long time since I sat down and read anything. And it rekindled my love for reading. It rekindled my love for a secondary world. It rekindled my love of the genre. And I'm not going to try and put it back because I'm going to drop something. And after that is I started looking back to like, maybe I should sit down and write again. And there were a couple of times where, I'm just kind of doodling and I just scrap it and then, nothing really comes of it. Probably the first time I completed a story start to finish was in the Of Words anthology, and it was The Haunting of Words, which you can get on Amazon. They didn't sponsor me, but it's there. And I didn't make the cut into it, but I got close. And the story I had submitted was, because the theme was it had to be something haunting, something spooky, something to do with, death or haunting or something like that. But it could be anything else you wanted. So my idea was, what if we told the story from a ghost perspective? Like, what if someone has to watch as their family tries to cope and move on, but can't interact, and how isolating that feels? So that's what I started writing down, and it was about 8,000 words. It wasn't very long at all. And my biggest mistake is that I didn't hire an editor. Because if I had hired an editor, I probably would have made it in. So that's my big lesson right now, my editor, Anne, for these. I absolutely adore her. The biggest thing we fight over is whether or not to keep a comma. Because usually with everything else is that she's 100% correct, and I just have to abide by it. But yeah, I missed it barely getting into this anthology, and that's kind of like, people like what I write. I was just doing this for fun. I was like, you know what? It's probably not going to make it. Like, I'm expecting any minute now for me to have this rejection letter. And I got it, and I got a letter of saying, hey, you made it to the second round of us coming through. I was like, made it to the second round? Are you sure? Like, the thing I did? Another month passes. Okay, we're in the final round. Really? And then months and months go by. And I'm like sweating bullets with each week that passes. Like, okay, this is it. This is for all the chips on the table. And there was a lot of debate on whether or not I should go in because it was still rough hewn. Again, if I had hired an editor, it would have been easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I don't know if it would have been easy peasy lemon squeezy, but I probably would have gotten in. That was my biggest holdback, was that it was rough. But it made it that far. So that's sort of the point where I said, you know what? Yeah, I want to share my imagination, because I did this for funsies, thinking that it wouldn't go anywhere, and I was going to prove myself that, you know, I'm not a good writer. I'm just going to keep my imagination to myself. But the fact that it made it that far, I wanted to share more of what goes on in my daydreams.
Who do you think that are going to connect with your imagination?
You know, I posed this question because with Let There Be Fire, there's a weird phenomena that goes on with the two main characters. Men tend to gravitate towards Cal as a character. Women tend to gravitate towards Avi as a character. And it's the weirdest thing, because I didn't plan for this at all. But I think that's pretty good, because it means that there's a character for, you know, most of the readers of the genre, is that there's someone there that you can connect to. I don't know why this is. I've asked readers, like, well, can you tell me why you like this character more than the other one? Like, there's no wrong answer. I just want to know. What did I do? But it's something that they can't really explain. The best they can do is, like, you know, I really connect to him. Like, I really feel for this character, or, you know, I really think this character's just a lot of fun. Like, he does some things that, you know, I think I would do in that situation, blah, blah, blah. But there's not like a concrete answer. So I think it's just each of the characters speaks to each sex at a very fundamental level that I did not intend. There's a lot of things in the book that speak to the readers that I didn't intend. I just wanted to make it feel very natural. So that's what I'm hoping continues.
So I can understand you have put yourself in the book. So how it is going to impact, and which country people are going to get connected with it?
I don't know if I ever put myself in the book. Is I try and put feeling and emotion into the book, and just knowledge and experience. I guess that is kind of a self. Uh, but I don't know if I have any self inserts there, because I want to write about characters who are not me, who are vastly more interesting than me. I don't want to put down the farm boy that has to, like, work multiple jobs and has this, you know, moral obligation. I want to write about someone who is morally ambiguous, will lie, cheat, and steal, is like a pseudo Jack Sparrow character. But I also wanted to just be available for anyone who wants to just check out and exist somewhere else. So I went through, and I have it in as many places as I can possibly reach. I am looking to see if there's more places I can put the book, because my number one readership is in Germany, the Netherlands, and the UK. I don't know why. It's not the US, which is strange. But yeah, if I had only stuck to distribution to the US and Canada, I wouldn't know that these characters are speaking to people on such different levels. So that's what I wanted to do, is give everyone, as many places as I can reach, the chance to escape. And I'm so glad that it is working that way. That there's a lot of people who they have access to the book, that they have access to just mentally check out. So for now, it's in Germany, Netherlands, the UK, Australia, Canada, uh, the US. I think it's in India, but I'm not sure. I will have to double check because I don't know how far Thalia reaches. But if not, I'm absolutely going to try.
So usually, where do you sit and write?
Where do I usually sit and write? Uh, Wherever it is comfortable in the house at the time. I have a spot on a desk that is very crowded with candle making equipment and like a stack of receipts and spare scraps for sewing up something that needs some patchwork. And I'll usually like clear a little spot there and type, or I'll be in bed just because like I want to stack up a bunch of pillows and be comfy, or I'm on the couch. There's not a usual spot. It's just wherever it is comfortable so I can just not have to be rigid.
So, do you think that you have put your 100% of pure emotions in the form of words in your book?
I don't know if I could say 100%. That seems like a big ask, but definitely like 65% plus. So like a passing grade. Um, but I think that's part of having something that's character driven, is that you want to get very close to your point of view character and to the characters around them. And it's important to be able to connect with how they're perceiving something, what their mindset is, how their thinking kind of works, and how they're feeling. We're very social creatures as humans. And the number one way to connect with someone isn't through logic. It's through emotion. It's kind of why we just need hugs. Like, you feel me?
I got you. So, you have six in a row. So, tell me about it.
For 6 books in a row. Well, like I said, it started off as it was going to be a short story. Then I said, oh, okay, at 8,000 words, it's not going to be a short story. We'll make it into a novella. And then 30,000 words later, okay, we'll make it into a novel. 50,000 words later, a really long novel. 80,000 words later, 2 novels tops. And it just keeps growing and growing. So I thought, okay, 2 novels tops, maybe 5 novels, 7. We're looking at maybe 9. Because again, I have the plot is put on the sticky notes on plastered on that wall. Uh, but the way I write is how this character naturally progress toward this next point. And I don't want to rush into it because that's not fun and it doesn't make sense. So having them take the time out to go through their emotions, to go through their thoughts as they're working towards this next piece, uh, it takes a lot longer than I anticipated, because what is now the outline for book 4 is about the remaining 70% of what was supposed to be book 3. It took so long to get to that point, and I was like, you know what? I need a drop off point. I need a drop off point somewhere. So I don't know how many books it's going to be. It's going to be more than 5. And I'm writing book 4 right now, so I'm trying to just keep it going so it's smooth and we have a consistent release date that that at least every year there's going to be a new one out.
So when they are going to come out?
Well, book one is already out in paperback and ebook, and I am working with someone to get the audiobook out, and hopefully by March we will have the audiobook out. Book two, hopefully in all three forms, will be out this summer. And book three, hopefully in all three forms, will be out the following summer. And that's going to be the trajectory I want to keep, is that every summer is a new release. So I am trying to put myself on a schedule and keep to it.
You have it on Amazon?
It is on Amazon, yes.
I'll share your links in the description of this video. People who find our video on YouTube can see the links and can go through your books.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble, Baker and Taylor, Angus and Robertson, Kobo, Apple Books. I tried to put it in as many different places as possible to give people options on where the preferred reading is, and to try and get it to as many people as possible, that there is something available to entertain you and help you just leave. Like, you can just leave the real world for a little bit.
So are you an emotional person or a logical thinker?
Oh, you're gonna ask me that now? I try to be a logical thinker, but there are plenty of times where my emotions do get the better of me, and I try not to let it happen, because I think I'm very aware with how emotional I can be. So I try to keep it, I'm like, no, just keep it together. Keep it together. We can let it out in like an hour when we are alone, in private, absolute solitude. Keep it together right now. So I try. It is kind of hard with, I don't know if you're very familiar with how Hispanic families work, but the stereotype of women being very dramatically emotional is very true of my family. The ladies of my family are very in touch with their feelings, and it's not a slow burn in any direction. It's just instantaneous. It's like emotional whiplash. So I realize I can't do this with the real world, and I'm trying to just like hold it together, like, nope, nope, temper back, temper back. So both, neither, yes.
Are you the same person as a speaker and as a writer?
Am I the same person as a speaker and as a writer? I don't think I am, because the main characters in Let There Be Fire and the rest of the series are both male characters, and I try to utilize what I think is more of a masculine voice and a masculine tone as I'm writing. But me as a person, I'm very girly. Like, despite farming and chopping wood and taking out garden and like all these things we attribute to masculinity, I like wearing soft pink. I like looking pretty. I like singing and having woodland creatures come up to be my friends. Just Disney to the 10th level. So I don't know if as a speaker and as a writer, I'm the same person. I have actually noticed though that because Cal is, in the book, he is a sailor, and Avi is a former soldier, they utilize a lot of swearing, a lot of aggression. And I have noticed that I do swear a little bit more as I speak. And I'm like, oh no, let's not do that. Let's not do that. And it's not that I have anything against swearing. It's that I can use swearing as a power trip, but only if it's like a surprise. If people are used to me swearing, it's no longer powerful.
So you are saying people who are soft will connect with you.
I mean, I don't know if it's anything about if someone is soft or someone is hard, because I think that's very general. And there are a lot of soft people who think I'm far too mean. Okay, I don't know what to do with that. I'm sorry, I guess. And then there's a lot of hard people that they soften up around me. Is very famously is I say famously like I'm somebody. Uh, when I was working with the veterans in the American Legion in the local area, is they saw me so often, these hard men, and they saw that I'm putting in the effort and just trying to be of use. That when someone came up and they started harassing me, I didn't even notice that they harassed me because I was just focused on something else. And all these retired soldiers just formed line and be like, "You can't talk to her like that," and just laid into this guy. So I don't think it's an appeal to someone who's soft or who's hardened. I think it's just trying to appeal to something that's fundamentally human.
So, are you good in connecting with human beings as a speaker? Because now you have chosen a medium with which you're trying to connect without being physically present.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I could consider myself good at that. I mean, that might be a little bit more of an ego trip if I said, "Oh yeah, I'm fantastic at it." But I just kind of got lucky that there were people who enjoyed what I'd written or who enjoy spending time talking to me. Uh, when I pop into a live stream or a premiere of someone else who's a writer or who's a bookworm, I'll do a couple of clips or a couple of jokes, just something very light, something very friendly. And they're like, "Oh, I like you. You're really funny." I jokingly say, "If you enjoy my humor, check out my." Apparently that works, but it's just, I want to say this so it makes sense. It's very much that because I try to be a very friendly, warm person, and I think that's what we need as humans is we just need each other to be friendly and warm, uh, regardless of anything else. And that's, I think, what endears people is that you've presented them with a warmth and a kindness to them. And it's just something so small that makes the day a little bit better. Whether it's saying, "Hi, it's nice to see you. I hope you're having a lovely day," rather than the usual, "Well, how are you?" There's a difference that one has warmth and one is very vague and open. So I think it's the warmth that is endearing. I don't know if it's as a speaker. I don't know if that answers your question.
You're disconnecting with the reality and you're going into somewhere where that world exists or not, and you're picking up characters from it, and you're coming into reality and you're making physical things and putting it and letting people connect with your imagination,
Mm-hmm.
which came from your personal experiences or with the books that you read. So, how that connectivity is going to be imagination, your imagination, and making people to imagine what you're imagining.
I don't know if I can control how people see things. Notoriously, because I've said it many a time. Chicken, what are you doing? Sorry, I have a sparrow on the ground. Uh, Notoriously, I had actually left a writers guild and an editorial group um, over how aggressive and how much swearing there was in the book, which some people have said that's not even a whole lot, but it was apparently enough to offend a couple of individuals here uh, to a point that they demanded that I rewrite it. And I was like, nah. So for trying to make people envision what I have in mind, I don't know if I can do that because I think it's kind of spectacular, really, that two people can read the same exact book but come away with very different perspectives on it. I think that's so magical. I think it's so, so wonderful is that they're holding the same thing, but because they're two very different individuals, that they've come away with different experiences, they've come away with different perspectives, and they have different ideas of what things look like in their head. And I think that's so magnificent. I think that's so, so wonderful.
So what is the scale of your intensity?
The scale of my intensity?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I want to say this so that makes sense. I started off Let There Be Fire as something that's very light to start. Um, that even though the characters, they come from a background where they have to be hard, they have to be a little bit more macho, uh, it doesn't stop them from feeling and from being human. There's times where Cal, as our point of view character, we see that he has to soften. He realizes that he's made mistakes and he's actually emotionally hurt by it. With Avi, as hardened as he is, as revenge hungry as he is, there are moments where he just cries. He just can't take it and he has to have a moment. So I don't know about the intensity there. I try and make it feel natural. But as the book series progresses, it does go very slowly into darker and darker and darker, which I let my editor know with book 3, like, hey, this one's going to have some trauma in it. There's going to be sadness. Gonna let you know that. And the same thing with my narrator is I don't want him to agree to do something and then just be like, I can't put my voice to it. So I want him to be informed that we're going to be progressively going to where it's going to be a lot darker. But I don't want to have it be intense. I want it to be that slow, gradual change, like we see in people. That someone who they've had things thrown at them, they don't instantly turn into a villain. It's over a long period of time that they've just given up. And the same with the inverse is that over a long period of time, they've pulled themselves up.
There must be a strong reason for you to express what you're expressing.
A strong reason for it. I think it's just coming down to what is fundamentally, uh, what is fundamentally human. There's something in every human, I think, that we all just wordlessly agree on in our hearts of how things should be like. That the world isn't what it could be, but it should be. And I think that's something that each and every one of us in our hearts has. So when I'm writing the characters, is that's what I want to bring as they're going through these trials of the world, as they're going through their lives, as they're trying to achieve something. The world is not as it should be for them, but what if it could be? And that's what they're holding on to.
So have you ever thought that why this reality and imagination is there?
Why the reality and imagination is there? Um, I've actually never given it much thought. It just seemed like such a natural thing that there's there's so many books that have these different perspectives or these different realities in them that you see what could be for the better, you see what could be for the worse, um, and you see the world around you as it is, but you also see the potential. And I think that's what we love. We love when victory is snapped out of, that borderline defeat, that there's no hope, but then you come out at the end victorious. I think that's what we love to see. It's why there's so many World War II movies that are made, because that is sort of the pinnacle of our modern life. That things seemed so hopeless, they seemed so dark. It didn't seem like there would be any way we could recover from it. But now we're here. We did win. There was hope. We did recover. So I don't think there's anything too different from fantasy portraying that versus what we know in our histories, minus fireballs and dragons.
So, like you said, there is a strong reason for the ability that we have, uh, which is expressing views and thoughts and imagination. So, what is your intention to express? You want something in return, you want to change something, or you want people to think about what you're thinking? What you want to do?
I don't think I want to make any sort of drastic change. I think I just want to make something that people feel connected with. That's something that they can enjoy. It's something that it's not trying to preach a message to them. It's just, here are two individuals. Here's the situation. Here's the course of action that they're taking. And through their thought process, through their emotions, for it to make sense to achieve what that is, as opposed to trying to preach some sort of identity, preach some sort of political view. I didn't want that because there's too much of that. There's too much. I don't want it. No, escape, please. And that's primarily what I want to do is, I guess, go back to the way things were in literature, where it is just a very heartfelt story. It's not something that's trying to necessarily teach any lessons. It's not trying to change perspectives. It's just something where hopefully the reader feels like somewhere out there, because of this character, someone understands how I feel.
So, your previous experiences, you worked in different places, and you have you are into different professions. So, from there, have you picked up anything in your writing?
In my writing or from my professions,
Yeah.
I don't think so. Because I don't like putting my real life experience into any sort of book. I don't, because it feels too much like a self insert, and that kind of just feels gross to me. like that's why I was saying that I want to write about characters that are so different from me. So there's not going to be the farm girl who sings Disney songs just appears and pulls the magic sword and goes on a quest. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry to anyone who is hoping for that, but it's not going to happen. So as far as experience, it really is just as far as topography goes, and from my love of mythology, my love of history, that these things that I love, but maybe aren't necessarily part of my life, that goes into the work.
Great. And at last, what do you want to say to the person who is watching this?
The person who's watching this, oh my gosh, there's so many things to say. I wanted to like a whole entire motivational speech and then at the end say buy my book, but I guess for one thing to say, it would be to take a time out to enjoy life. That you don't have to rush from point A to point B. You don't have to perpetually be busy. Don't take your example from me. I'm pretty much not the best example. Take the time to enjoy life. Take the time to love things. Take the time to escape, to just be somewhere else. If you are city locked where you can't go anywhere, yeah, you can. You have a book. You have a TV show. Take the time to just enjoy that you are living.
So, at last, as an author, as a person who is into writing and
Mm-hmm.
who is going to be a full-time writer, what is your observation about my work?
About your work?
Yeah.
Oh man. You know, like I said, I found you on Instagram when you first started. And I didn't have anything done at the time when you were asking me about this. I was like, I don't want to disappoint you because like I don't have anything ready to present. And I know you want to get this off the ground. And like I said, it's like I met you when you started from ground level and seeing you now, how you've just rocketed yourself out there. That's really inspiring, I think. And I'm really proud of you. I really am. Because like every time I saw a post from you, and granted, I'm not as frequent on social media as I probably should be, but every time I saw you and I saw you growing a little bit more, I'm like, get him, boy, get him. Like, you got this. Like, I'm watching you. I'm cheering you from the background. Like, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so proud.
So you're watching me.
I am. I'm watching.
So what is the change that you're observing from the beginning till now?
From the beginning to now, I do think you have a way of connecting with people, because where a lot of podcast interviewers or book interviewers, people who they have a script ready, is they try and make it feel very natural. But at least every other question right now, you've caught me off guard. So I think that's your way of connecting with people, is that you are listening to them and naturally get curious and ask the next question. So I think that's something to be taken from, is you do have this, like I was saying before, is a warmth to you. It's very inviting that you are pulling people in and that you are very naturally curious, and it shows with how you interact with your guests.
So actually, I did masters in software engineering and bachelor's in computer science and engineering. And right now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting trained as AWS DevOps engineer, cloud DevOps engineer. So uh, I, as a technologist, as a deep technologist,
Uh-huh.
uh, I want to understand the connectivity between human beings and technology. How technology is going to help human beings in order to put their emotions out, exactly what they feel.
Yeah. I think you're on it. I think you are. But I don't think it's as much to do with technology as it is to do with you. I think at the core of it, you are the piece that works. Because we're just here on a Skype call. Like, I've got it rigged up to my cell phone because my land internet is just so terrible out here. And you're all the way in India. We're on opposite sides of the world. I don't think it's much to do with technology other than this amazing feat that we're on opposite sides of the world. I think what makes it work is absolutely you. I think you're utilizing what you know, but you're also utilizing yourself as a human.
It's a great compliment for me. I will remember this all the time. And you're the only guest, and you're the first guest who said that I'm watching you from the beginning till now.
That's impossible. You have to have had other people who have been watching you from the start. Like, I remember you had, it was very, very few authors were coming on. Um, and it seemed like the videos were very infrequent because it was just trying to start from ground level. I remember, but you had to have had people, not just me. You had to have had, and maybe they just haven't said. Like, it's impossible. You had to have had more.
I mean, after 500 plus 550 chattings, a person saying this is completely new for me.
No way.
Yeah, this is
No
the first
way.
time I'm hearing. Nobody said that I'm watching you. But there are so many people who are watching and who are listening to me, who are regularly seeing it. But you're the first person whom I interviewed directly and listening to this and also telling to my audience like this.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe that because, like, it seems so impossible. Like you're such a cool person. Like, if I know that you are a cool person, I can't be the first person to notice. That's like, oh my gosh. I have no words for this.
So what you gonna write next?
I, right now I'm working on book 4 for the lyrical series, and the working title for that one is Scarlet Vow. And I think for the next one, it's going to be, I think after that is God Hunter. Um, but again, they're working titles. I don't know what the official ones are going to be, but we're still going, trying to make it that every summer is going to be a new addition to the series. Like that is the hope, that is the goal. So I am working hard on it, and I'm actually falling behind a little bit because I'm supposed to be getting book 3 to my editor now, but I still need to go back and do some revisions and just kind of polish it a little bit so that it's not so overwhelming to her. So I'm going to hurry up and try and get that done. Continue with book 4 as she's editing and taking away my commas, my M dashes. But yeah, that is the plan, is to just keep working on the series. And after, when this finally closes, I do have a closing point. It's on the post-it board. So when we do finally close the series, I do have other ideas I want to write down. One idea is a 5-man band Western, which I don't know if I'm going to do that because, I don't know, I've lost a lot of love for this idea. But one of the ones that I have a couple of friends that they're hyped about it is I want to write a sci-fi dystopian, essentially space vampire book, which I found a scribble of it as I was spring cleaning. And I was like, oh, what's this? Oh, this is my handwriting. What's going on? Like, oh, this is like, 4 pages of like a summary of what a story would be. And it was actually kind of interesting. It was poorly written, don't get me wrong. It was absolutely atrocious. But the idea came back to mind, and I do want to write it down. But that's going to be something very grim dark. So it's on the back burner, waiting for this series to be finished first.
So, what's your web links with which my people can connect with you and can see the work that you're doing?
With the links about it,
Yeah.
for a lot of behind the scenes stuff or as I'm working on something, is I'll post it either on Instagram or we'll go live on Twitch TV. And you can find me at r_a_Morley. I'll give you the link so that it's all there for you. But yeah, on Twitch is usually going to be I'm doing something on the farm or we're working with the books. Instagram is updates with what's going on with the books. I'm not really great with social media. I should be, but I don't have the time to learn how to do this good. I don't. I'm also that old lady that prefers to use herbal teas to fix things and is terrified of technology. So it's why I haven't been on Skype in 10 years. I just don't remember how to do any of this stuff. So those are going to be the 2 places where you can find me easily and most often. Is going to be Instagram and Twitch TV. I'm going to try and get better with everything else, but it's a big going to try, not a promise.
And can you spell your social media presence to my podcast listeners?
Yeah, if you want to find me on Instagram, it's at Morley Writes Books. On Twitch TV, it is r_a_Morley.
And on Amazon?
On Amazon, I don't know if I have an Amazon account there because I've done everything with Draft to Digital. But you should be able to find me under R.A. Morley on Amazon.
So you will be on 10 to 15 podcast platforms as well as on YouTube, also on my personal website.
Okay.
With your presence, with your work, I'll update it on my website. Anybody who comes into my platforms, definitely they will see your work and they will see what your new thoughts are.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on.
Can I? Yeah, go on.
I know I said before, but I still I felt so bad the first time you asked me on, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't come on because I don't have anything ready, and I felt so bad afterwards. And there were times where I wanted to reach out to you. I'm like, no, No, that seems like no. Like he's so busy and like, you know, so having this chance that, now we can finally connect even like from all that time ago and now finally it's like the biggest.
And this is the right time for me to present your work so that it reaches more people.
Yeah. I really appreciate that too. I really, really do.
Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Yeah. I knew that you're going to put it on your podcast, on your channels, like full permission to do that.
Yeah, keep going, keep writing, and keep making people think about what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what you're going through in your imagination, so that people like me will see what is going on in your mind.
Yeah. And keep doing what you're doing. I think it's so awesome that you have built up this listenership because you are just so interested in the thoughts and perspectives of fiction around the world. Like, I don't know anyone that actually does that other than you. I think you're definitely the entrepreneur. You're the leadership of it. Just kind of just combing through with this idea of let's see what people everywhere else thinks and then compare and just show how awesome these things are. Like that's so amazing. It really is.
Thanks again for your valuable words, and I want these valuable words to put in your book as well, and so that it reaches many people and many different thinkers in the world, and I hope you reach everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I know that you're reaching everywhere. Like I know you are. You're just growing. Pretty soon, #1 podcast in the world. I'm calling it now. Inside of 5 years, #1 podcast. I'm calling it.
And this is going to be one of the biggest thing.
Yeah. All right. But you're gonna put this in the podcast too, so that after 5 years, when it comes back and you are #1.
Yeah, I'll definitely cut this clip and I'll play as a trailer. I mean, like a reminder.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is great because in like 2.5 years, I will forget. I will forget that I have made these declarations and then they will happen. I'll be like, oh, how wonderful. Wait a second. It's happened.
Thank you again, Rachel, for your time, and keep going.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for taking time out to think of me again. Like, I kind of thought, oh man, you're all the way up there. I've been left behind. I've missed my chance, but I didn't have. So being able to connect with you is just like, it's the highlight of probably my year, and the year has just started.
Me too. Thanks
All right.
for
Right.
accepting my invitation.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye.